Yebo-ke ngibingelele. Ngithemba ukuthi nonke bantwana kule South Africa nomhlaba nje uney'nkinga ezingapheli. Eyi madoda, hhayi bandla. No, bengifuna ukuthi ngithi ukugcizelela before I abandon that part of Africa needing dictators. I think we spoke, when was it? It was Friday, if I'm not mistaken, when we last spoke. Yeah, and we were talking about the issue of Africans needing to take the issue of organizing themselves and nationhood very seriously. And I was saying to you, we must go and just listen to what Abelung tend to say in terms of history and the things that they've researched about it, So I suggested you go and listen to Dr. Roy Casagrande's lectures so you can pick up ukuthi, there's no isolated event. It's a bunch of seemingly unrelated but very connected events that always lead to a global fallout. And kuwo wonke lokho-ke sesicabanga i-global fallout, you ask yourself as an African, angazi nini, but I ask myself ukuthi njengoba ngiyim-Afrika nje, if we have World War III, where does it put me? So that caused me to go inward and examine ukuthi where are the Africans? Where are we coming from? Where are we going? How far have we gone in whatever direction it is that we are saying that we are going? This is the thing that's been going on for a big chunk of my life, trying to examine, I remember in grade 10, I was asking my science teacher how. Because I was looking at all Newton, Nobanban, all these scientists who were contributing. And I was asking myself, but how come seemingly simple things we didn't discover? So I was asking did we arrive later on this planet or what? Because I don't see black people anywhere in my science book right now. And he was taken aback because as a teacher as he was, and much older than I was, he had never asked that kind of question. It had never occurred to him to wonder, but if all of this is so important and attempt to explain the world, we exist in the world, shouldn't we have something that we have contributed somewhere, somehow? Because I could never, honestly, I never believed that Africans were less intelligent than everyone else. It's something that has never occurred to me. So even at the time, I was like, no, but I don't think our people are stupid. I don't think they are foolish. I think they have the intelligence. These things, as Chazo Newton, there could have been done by an African, no problem. So where is our science? We didn't contribute anything. So, but that's a mindset. I realized later, it comes with the territory of Lulea. Because normally you find normal people don't think that deeply about. They just think it's science. They learn the science. They don't care about where it's coming from, where it's going. They don't look at where they are in the science and the book that has to do with the science. They don't bother with that. The same thing happens with the politics today. We just exist, and we are just okay that we exist. Tolo 250s, Pumindawin. That's it, done. There is no question. Okay, but how are we here? Why are we needing 250? Is it sustainable? All those things. So I'm just explaining my mindset, what occurred to me. And then I asked myself the question, how? with all these happenings that happened leading up to World War One and Two, what have we done since our own problem? Because Africans were invaded. Africa was invaded. The whole thing. The whole of Africa was invaded. I know the Ethiopians like to claim that they are the only country that was not colonized, which is not really true, because I think Mussolini went in there in the 40s, 30s. Mussolini went into Ethiopia, and they used to call it what? And Selassie went into exile. It's a history of fact. So maybe they can claim to have been colonized much later than everyone. Maybe they can claim that, but Africa as a whole was invaded. And after all that invasion, let's not even bother talking about what then happened with that invasion. We'll talk about that later. But we were invaded by people who were coming from Europe, small piece of land in the continent, in the entire planet, went and came in and bullied us and did whatever they wanted to do. The question then, what did we do after that? Ama-Africans ikuphi asekwenzile after ukuhlunyezwa ngale ndlela? What have we done so far? Because the reality is, if we have done something, we must have done because we don't want to be in a situation where we can be invaded. I think it's a logical conclusion to people who get invaded to say, yes, this must never happen again. So what do we do to make sure this doesn't happen? What have the Africans done to ensure that never happens again? Because in my own assessment, in my own assessment, judging by what happened in Libya, judging what's happening in the Congo, everywhere else, we can still have round 2 of colonialism, no problem. A European country can come in here and just bully us and kidnap our people to go and slave somewhere. It can still happen. We don't have a plan on dealing with that. We have not done enough work to ensure we don't have a repeat. And all of these things are important in the context of our movement, because I always say to you, you got to have spirituality that is completely in line with your politics and everything else. You can't have a spirituality that does not talk to your nation and where the nation is and is situated in the global politic. You can't have a spirituality that happens over there like it's something that you visit on a Sunday, but does not inform the entire direction of the community. What kind of spirituality is this one that does not invoke a sense of independence? So the ethos of our entire movement is that one. Like, we are spiritual people, yes, but let's examine the spirituality that we have been given, the spirituality that people claim was ours, and then let's look at how all those things come together and where do they land us, and we find that we are getting nowhere. And then one goes to investigate ukuthi zonke lezi ndawo ntamnyama bathi spirituality yabo zingasizanga namsebenzi walutho, where did they get them? What is behind all of it? And I talk at length about different things that you people love to talk about and worship and go and do the matwalos for. Kuningi enikwenzayo, but the nation is not getting anywhere. Asiphili isizwe. None of it. Akusiphilisi isizwe at all. Some of you get upset when I say things about certain things that you get up to. You get upset about it because you think it's your culture. A culture that does not propel the nation forward is something that should be thrown away. That's all I'm saying. So yes, the spirituality needs to connect to your entire politics. And so, because I don't want to speak like Klampe, it's just us and the Europeans alone on this planet, which is not true. There are other people. Let's look at the Japanese, for example. I talked about the Japanese a long time ago. There's a case of Japan. Japan is invaded by the Portuguese and the Dutch there in the 1800s. And fortunately for these foreign countries, Japan was in a state of civil unrest a lot because the shoguns, you say there's a shogunate, I think it's called the Edo period, if I'm not mistaken. So you have the shoguns wreaking havoc in Japan. Feudal systems, this clan fighting over this clan for dominance, and it came to a point where they literally overthrew the imperial family. So instead of Japan being an empire as it was before, then it became a feudal state where a bunch of different clans were running the country. And obviously that meant that there was a lot of fighting in Japan. A lot of fighting. So these Europeans come in there, they bring guns, they sell guns. Those of you who like watching movies, go look at that movie, The Last Samurai. They romanticize it, but if you strip away the romance, you realize what was going on there. So come in the Europeans bringing guns now into the mix. So the shogun thing gets really extreme. A lot of killing each other. Just Japanese, by the way. They were just excited. Now they have these guns. Now, they were not only bringing guns, because the Portuguese as well were very Christian. So the idea was also to introduce Christianity to the Japanese. Now, when the Japanese suddenly realized, no, man, we can't keep killing each other like this. We're exterminating each other. What's going to happen to our land? Because no, man. And this thing is facilitating bulalana ukulula. Yabo. So the Japanese were like, okay. You know what? Now abantu by a problem. So they rounded it up, anything that has to do with Christianity. They dealt with them. They just did away with Christianity. They were like, I said, these Christians who are Japanese, we're going to delete them, but delete her. But nina nifika sicela nisihambele. Bathi nje sicela nisihambele. And then it culminated to a point where there was now the Meiji period now began, which is the era where they restored the royal imperial family into running. So there was a restoration of the empire. Now, after being invaded like that, what did the Japanese do? They went on in industrialization and modernization. They replaced their empire, their imperial regime. At the same time, they was like, this must never happen again. Let's get into the business of learning everything that these people are capable of doing, so that they don't come here and bully us. So the empire of Japan at the time, in the Meiji era, sent people around to go and learn skills, technical skills, and the mechanization, the electrical things. So they came back and built industries in Japan. It went on a heavy industrialization. So they modernized in order to defend from invasion, and they put back in place their traditional authority. You see, which, and by the way, tells us something about Shinzo Abe. If you remember, Shinzo Abe was assassinated, the last prime minister. Japan doesn't have a president; has a prime minister. One wonders if the emperor